1st. It's the last day of January. It's been an insane start to the entire year. Obviously, with crypto, we're going to look a bit back. Key topic, it's actually a similar topic to what we have been having over the last 7-8 months. Bitcoin ETF, we finally got those ETFs. We had Grayscale selling, we had all the other ETFs gaining. We're going to definitely discuss this. We're going to discuss what could potentially happen today at the Fed. Are we going to see an interest rate change? Yes or no? We're going to discuss some of the macro elements, also maybe from the micro elements when it comes to stocks reporting. I think that's going to be quite interesting from a tech perspective. Maybe we're going to discuss a bit on Elon's salary, Elon's compensation package of $55 billion getting rejected. Maybe let's see what our thoughts on this. And then obviously a key topic over the past 24 hours is us as a company putting 1,664 dBTC that we bought with 1,664 Bitcoin onto a separate address, showing our commitment to $70 million at current prices. I don't know if you're willing to fork that out. We did, and we put it on a separate address to show to the community how committed we are. Also, the board has unanimously approved dUSD buying with DFI. We started that this morning. The price has been doing extremely well. And so we're going to be discussing all this a bit. So let's dive in. Fabio, how are you doing, sir? You look great as always. Let's get going.
So, well, I'm doing great. It has been a rough start into the year. A bit of a roller coaster start, of course, with the Bitcoin ETF that kind of, we all had a bit high expectations, I guess. And then, of course, with the company and within the DeFi chain ecosystem, you could say that January has been a bit of a roller coaster as well. But today, if I would own a pink shirt, I would probably wear a pink shirt today. Well, I'm super excited to dive into the topic because the FOMC meeting today is probably the most important of our lives until the next one. No, it's definitely interesting. We are a bit at a, I don't know, pivotal point or at a special point in time when it comes to macro. And of course, we're also at a very special point in time when it comes to all things DeFi chain, which we're going to discuss at the end or at the later part of today's Twitter space. Also, maybe a heads up, Julian and myself just agreed that we're going to do probably a bit of, let's say, 40 minutes, 45 minutes instead of the usual hour.
Yep, I have to really leave sharp here. I have an external meeting that I need to get to sharp. So that's also why a bit of a different time today, but I think that should be fine. Why don't we start a bit in reverse order on what I discussed? So we're going to discuss Bitcoin and stuff at the end. Let's discuss dBTC. Let's discuss dUSD. Let's discuss the past 24 hours. I don't know, Fabio, how have you experienced it from the outside? I want to be very clear on this. And Fabio, you can confirm this. Internally, we didn't inform anyone before, other than we informed the public about all this. So there was only obviously legal, sure, and then on the board decision, and then people who are involved on the operational side, but it's a very, very small group. And we did this on purpose so that no one has any kind of information up front. We just made, we always try to just be very, very fair on this, that everyone has the information at the same time. And Fabio, I think you can confirm that, or you experienced this yourself. But then share a bit on, how were the last 24 hours there, and maybe share a bit of some background and what have been the voices, the ideas from the community so far around all that, what we did.
So maybe let's do dBTC first.
Sure.
Well, it's been exactly 2 years, I think. We are in 2024, and in January 2022, we initially had the introduction, let's say, of the unbacked Bitcoin, and it was initially in 2022 was a huge topic, and a lot of people talked about it. Died down quite a bit, and of course, sometimes you had people bringing it up, talking about it, and there was a bit of an uncertainty around it, because theoretically, in case of a bank run, it's basically everybody that's familiar with the fiat system. We have a partial. If everybody would go to the bank right now here in Europe or in the United States, doesn't really matter where you are. and everybody would withdraw their money, there's not enough there to get everybody whole. And that was for a, I would say, 18 months, 2 years time on DeFi chain, a bit of the same issue. Never happened, or of course, as well as in the fiat system, it didn't really happen, and the likelihood of this happening is fairly low. But right now, if this would happen within the DeFi chain ecosystem, everybody would be made whole. There is no missing, no unbacked dBTC out there. And as Julian mentioned, for me, it was a huge surprise. I basically woke up in the morning, 7 o'clock, checked my Slack, and saw a lot of unread messages and Julian instructing the social media team on the Bake side to share this news with the public. And for me, it was it's perfect, because sometimes it's really hard to address these issues. Like right now, I explained this a bit with a comparison to the fiat system. And of course, everybody would kind of agree with me that the likelihood of this happening is fairly low. And the same would probably be true within the DeFi chain ecosystem as well. But regardless of that, there were a lot of critics or doubtful users, community members that kind of they worried about that. They were thinking about it and so on. And with us putting the address out there and basically taking all doubt off the table, verifyingly proving that this is actually there, which is in the gold world, in the fiat world, this wouldn't even be possible. And the great thing about crypto is you can verifiably, publicly share that with everybody, and everybody can head over to our transparency page, proof of reserves, everything checks out, and you can verify it yourself. So it's a great day. It's a great achievement, and an insane commitment from the company. So
I just want to say, I mean, these are actual, this is actual $70 million that we put in there, and this is at current prices. We're gonna shift the entire amount to another address. So we're gonna make a separate post about that. That's just because for operational and safety reasons, we just want to move the entire account, the entire amount to a different address. But that's really purely for operational and more security reasons. So that's just a small note. We'll make a post on Twitter on that once it's moved. But that's so don't get disturbed or surprised about this. It's just it's the entire amount that gets moved. And but full commitment from our side. So again, if anyone ever again says Cake is not behind the support of DeFi chain, I don't know what else to kind of point to. So I just want to be crystal clear on that. Topic number 2.
Yeah, and if that would not have been enough, there was a second tweet that went out. So, okay, me personally, I would have spread this out maybe over the course of 2 hours or over the course of 2 days, because both news were pretty insane. And we kind of 2023 was not the most positive year for the DeFi chain ecosystem. We had some struggles. There were some issues, and we had a lot of people doubting a few things. And one thing that you just mentioned, the commitment from Bake to the DeFi chain ecosystem. A few people that actually doubted that there was this commitment. And I think the two actions yesterday, so one was the dBTC, and the second one was there is we do have, the DeFi chain ecosystem does have a dUSD stablecoin. And the stablecoin is, let's say, a bit volatile. It's not always pegged 1-to-1 at $1, but it moves around a bit because, there are some unbacked tokens, and but there is a big effort from the community that they want to push this up back to $1, and it's actually possible. It doesn't even take that much, and the community already started. I think they pushed this up from 10 cents to almost 50 cents. And a lot of people were actually openly asking if Bake would take part in and show some commitment. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but for a lot of people, they might not understand what unanimous board decision made. So unanimous board, we published that the board basically consists of 3 members, which is the 2 co-founders, This is Julian, this is Julian, and we have a new board member, Ben. And a unanimous decision is if everybody votes the same way. And this is probably important for the community to understand that everybody was in favor of that. So the whole board, the whole company, everybody's behind this decision. And Cake committed to swap 20 million DFI into dUSD. And so I'm going to be a bit cautious, but if you check out, I think DC's and Kugi's Twitter, they post this graphic that they regularly tell the community how much DFI or US dollars or whatever is actually needed to re-establish the peg. And I think I checked yesterday, this might have changed in the meantime, but it was approximately 6 million DFI that are needed to establish a peg. And of course, the commitment from Bake with 20 million should be more than enough. And on top of that, there is currently a community proposal which suggests that 30% of the community fund, which currently holds, I think, almost a 30 million DFI, is going to be used to do the same. So with the commitment of Bake and the potential community funding proposal, we could definitely, or the pack is basically in reach. And Bake published the address where you can see all of these swaps and all of it's public. Again, we are in Web3. You can verify this yourself. You can check it yourself. The address is out there. It's on Twitter. It's on Telegram. Just open the address and you will already see there are already swaps that have been made. And yeah, again, here, huge commitment from Bake to the DeFi chain ecosystem, to the D-token system, which is amazing. Yeah, I'm not sure if I left out a few details or you want to add to what I just said, Julian.
No, I think spot on. No, spot on. I just want to also explain, I mean, these DFI are from, and I mentioned this several times, we have not sold any material amount of DFI last year into Bitcoin or dollars or something. And yeah, we just kept them in the treasury. I think most of those were either staking or just sitting. And yeah, we want to use them really for the community. We believe that this is an important one going forward.
I may have a question. So a lot of people don't know actually, but I think, I don't know, a year ago, 18 months ago, Bake actually diversifies part of their treasury into the D-token ecosystem. So we hold decentralized stocks in the DeFi chain ecosystem, which is also verifiable. You can check that yourself. I think there is a blog post that mentions all the addresses and you can look into that. But one question that popped out in the community, I don't know if you can answer that, but many community members ask, okay, but if you have swapped all of these DFI into dUSD, what is happening with them? Are you just holding on to them? Are you going to use them? Are you going to swap them into stocks? What is going to happen to the dUSD?
I think that's a good question. I don't have a good answer for it right now. So anything that I would say now would just not be correct. I would, again, at the end, this is such a large amount that this would have to be decided by the board anyways. So yeah, like I said, I mean, the board wouldn't have voted unanimously on it if they didn't believe in that. Otherwise, there would be always someone objecting. But for me now saying we're going to do this or that, I think would just not be a fair answer, because yeah, it's actually not up to me alone to decide that. And we hadn't discussed that. At the moment, it's more on let's help with the dUSD price and then kind of go from there. I think so. That is, I think, once I have a better answer, once I know that a clear answer, then I think, yeah, I'll definitely communicate that. We'll try to be always as transparent as possible and, yeah, share our intentions. We try to align our interests with that of the community. And, yeah, I think that's the key, really, message in that.
Yeah, maybe let me add one or two things. One, firstly, how the community perceived all of this. So, of course, we I monitor most of our chats in several languages on a daily basis, and there was the sentiment during early parts of January wasn't that great. Just because price-wise, we had some negativity, and also a few people just were concerned about exactly these two issues. One, the dUSD thing, and the other was the dBTC thing. So the major two issues were addressed. So the perception of the community was insane. So like yesterday, I think Bake hasn't swapped any DFI into dUSD yesterday. It started this morning. and we could already see a run up, basically a front running, if you say that. So the announcement that Bake came out and said we are going to do this over the next days, and instantly the community came into action. The sentiment in chat switched 180 degrees night and day. I think it was for a lot of people this confirmation and this action, like actions speak louder than words, and a lot of community members perceive this as very, very positively. And one thing that I just want to add myself is, if you look at the biggest assets manager in the world, Larry Fink is CEO of BlackRock, and his biggest thing, the biggest narrative that he's driving, is real world assets on a blockchain. And guess what? We do have a bit of a head start there. We do have an amazing system with the D-token system. Of course, this is we started this way earlier than anybody else, and it was a bit of experimenting. But I think we're on a good way, and we have a head start. So I think we were right on. With real world assets, and the two things that happened today might be a very pivotal point for the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think especially fixing dBTC, fixing dUSD, then it's really then it's everything is really solid. Then I'm actually really excited about that base. Then we can finally focus on building again, and not about whining all the things that are not working, and actually looking forward. So I think that's really good. Maybe I address one thing here. For some reason, people think just because I don't post on Twitter or I don't spend much time on Twitter, I'm disappearing or something. I just want to address this here. I've shared this on several occasions. I just didn't really like. Honestly, Christmas, I spent very little time on Twitter, and it was really good. I was so refreshed, and man, then when I came back and I felt like, wow, my life is actually really good, and Twitter can sometimes just be such a energy drainer, and at the moment I just need every single ounce of my energy to drive the business, to drive the company, to help everyone. That's so much more important than wasting energy sometimes. And so if I don't spend time on social, it's not because I'm not doing anything. It's actually the exact opposite. It's because I'm really focused on stuff. So I'll still pop up and post stuff, but I definitely am gonna spend way less time right now on Twitter. I felt so much better. So nothing against Elon. I think he's an amazing person. I think Twitter is such a gift to the world. I think it's so important to have this town hall, but I don't need to be part of every town hall all the time. I'm okay in being at town halls at sometimes, but not all the time. And so please, I hope you understand that. Sometimes, again, I actually spend a little bit more time on Instagram sometimes. Then I got a bit tired of the Instagram again. So it goes in waves. It's just how it is. So don't take it. Like I think Fabio. I think that statement is so good. Don't look at how much someone talks. Look at the results. And I think over the last 24 hours, I hope they speak for themselves. Anything else to add there? I think that's quite solid. I think the community is going to be really excited. I think, that's. We shift to other topics. We shift to Grayscale. We shift to the ETFs. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, sure. Initially, I saw a lot of tweets when GBTC, of course, had a big head start compared to everybody else. And they kind of had this unique monopoly position, monopoly that they were able to, I think 2.5% or 2% was their initial fee. And they lowered it, I think, with the launches of the ETF to 1.5%, which is still, like, for an ETF, and especially for the competition that they have, I think a lot of ETFs actually ask zero fee for the first 6 months, and then they do 0.25 or 0.3%. It differs from ETF to ETF, but we are talking almost an order of magnitude, which is a lot. Like 1.5% is a lot. And initially I saw a lot of people that were mentioning, okay, this is just lazy boomers that are not taking their funds out and not moving them over to another ETF. But eventually, we saw insane flowouts from GBTC. And I think 2 days ago was the first day that IBIT, so the BlackRock ETF, surpassed GBTC in volume, trading volume, not overall Bitcoin held, which is a
That's
huge
definitely going to
sign.
take quite a while. Yeah, that's definitely going to
Yeah.
take quite a while.
So total assets under management is going to take a while, but the volume speaks volumes. It's a huge sign that definitely there are a lot of people concerned with the fees, and a lot of people actually, might trust BlackRock a little bit more, or other ETFs, and are moving their funds. And there, I know that you have way more insight. So let me prep this up and then throw the ball to you. So there was a lot of speculation how GBTC selling or conversions are influencing the price. And there are many different, or actually two different opinions out there. The one, of course, is yes, all GBTC outflows, they kind of drain the price and lower the price. And there is the other side that basically says no, conversions or outflows from GBTC don't affect the price. And I'm not sure which one is true, but if we just look at what is happening on the chart, it doesn't seem to have that much of an impact. Of course, we had a buy the rumor, sell the news. We dipped a bit from, I don't know, max price was 48 and lowest price this year 39. So the range is not that big. But there was definitely a buy the rumor, sell the news. We bounced nicely from 39 and we are holding steady, or pretty steady right now, in the, let's see, 40,000, $42,000, $43,000 range. Maybe can you give us a little bit of insights if it actually matters, these outflows, if they actually affect the price, or if it's a net neutral?
I mean, yes and no. So, I mean, it's always quite difficult to kind of give an absolute on that. If you're watching on YouTube, then you see the flow chart. I mean, these are not charts that you haven't seen on Twitter, so they're being shared left and right. I think this one is from BitMEX. So you can see the charts all the way from January 11th till yesterday. And yeah, we definitely over the past days have picked up again with the flows. Now, again, if you have these net inflows, then it's relatively likely, obviously, that the price does well, and we've seen that. If we see it a bit the other way, where we may have net outflows, I mean, it doesn't always mean that the price goes down or up. It's quite difficult. Sometimes the reshuffling, I mean, it's difficult to kind of track all those things. But obviously, what you want to see, and that's something I had said so many times, and I really want to kind of reiterate that. I think one of the key metrics over the next months and years is going to be to look at the AUM in number of Bitcoins that these ETFs have. Sure, there's a lot of criticism to that. I want to be very clear. We all started in crypto to kind of get away from the banks, and now it kind of feels like we're looking and cheering for banks to have more of the Bitcoins. But yeah, that's just kind of the direction we're going, and it's going to be a key metric, in my opinion, to see how much AUM these ETFs have. The kind of rumor was always the $5 billion mark. Once we have like about $5 billion in outflows, then at that point it was always kind of speculated that's when Grayscale is significantly going to slow down. Grayscale right now is at 5.4 billion outflows, and we have definitely slowed down. So yeah, I think we were quite spot on in this, and yeah, it's I think it's a good direction. I would be quite surprised though if we see a massive rally at this stage. I'm still going to stick to the guns that it's great times to dollar cost average. Yes, we're going to see the halving in about 2.5 months, a bit less, and I think that's going to be a good time to kind of get to that. So I think it's really going to build up nicely. I don't know, Fabio, what your thoughts on this is. Again, I want to caution a bit. I'm not the biggest proponent that the halving kind of cycle is going to be all too crazy. But I think it's I think obviously it's a strong narrative, and I think it's going to build nicely up. I definitely belong more into this camp that we're going to see a bit more in the second half of this year, and I think the first half of the year is a bit more accumulation phase. That's just a bit of my thoughts on this. I don't know how you see this, Fabio.
Well, so I'm I haven't made my mind up 100%, but you basically have two camps. You have the cycle theory and you have the, let's say, liquidity theory. So some part of crypto Twitter or they think the halving is what gives us these 4-year cycles. And the other part that maybe is a little bit more on the economic and on the macro side, they look at liquidity. So let's say M2, money supply. It's still a bit, it's fooled by randomness. So it's still kind of hard to tell from a data perspective which one it is, because they kind of coincide. Now, some people might say, okay, Satoshi took the 4 years because the liquidity cycle is 4 years, and they kind of line up nicely together. And we might even see exactly the same thing happening one more time, so that actually the halving and the liquidity cycle line up once more for the next 4 years. That their chance of that is actually quite high. And right now, it's not really that the money supply, at least in the United States, is going sky high. It's definitely, when you look at China, for example, you see the money supply rising again. In the United States, that's not the case. We have a FOMC meeting tonight.
What's your guess on it?
I think they're just going to hold, do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the betting probability is like what, 97% or something, 98%. It's like, yeah, I think anything would be a shocker, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, anything else would really be a shocker. Yeah, and so we are going into an election year. We might see, I think the probabilities for the Fed to actually lower the rates in May are quite high, or they're becoming higher towards the later part of the year. And the same, so normally it doesn't really matter if we talk liquidity cycle or we talk halving cycle. It's usually 6 months after the halving that we really see the price picking up and the bull run starting. A lot of people, so me personally, I think a lot of people are talking about the bull run and about an alt season right now. And I think they might have, looked too much in the hopium glass. It's, in my opinion, was mainly a run up because of the ETFs. And we saw these run-ups before the halving in 2015 and 2019 as well. Right before the halving, we always had this run-up. In 2019 was, I think, connected to OneCoin, and in 2015, I'm not sure what the news were back then. I wasn't following that closely back then. But we saw a really strong run-up before the halving, a correction right around the time of the halving, and then it took us 4-6 months until the bull run really started. And I would make the case that this time is no different. And Julian mentioned probably a good strategy right now is just to dollar cost average. And this would give us another, let's say, 8 months to dollar cost average before the actual run up is happening. I'm going to take that. I would love to have another 8 months for some accumulation. So I'm not in a hurry. I don't know. Do you see the timing similar, or what do you expect the Fed to do over the course of the year?
Actually, very much aligned. I just, I think interesting for the past probably a couple of months. It's difficult to kind of pin a exact number to it. I feel markets were not so much impacted by macro. And I'm just a bit worried after all this, we're going to see some impact of macro again, maybe to the downside, maybe to the upside. It's going to be quite interesting. I mean, Arthur Hayes talks a lot about this with the banking funding, liquidity issues, also something I watch very closely. So I think the next couple of months is going to be quite crucial. And so I don't expect so much out of crypto. I think it's going to be more of an, like I said, accumulation for me. 2024, later half of the year. But again, like if you believe in the halving cycle, then you should actually really bet on 2025. 2020, 2016 were not the key years. It was really, really late in 2020. People forget that, right? Go back on the chart. It was actually December almost only, maybe a little bit of November where we really saw the traction. Wouldn't be surprising to me if we see something similar this year. So I know people are super impatient. They want it tomorrow. They want it now. They don't want it next year. They don't want it in the next 3 years. They don't want it in the next 10 years. For them, it's like always such short time horizon. So that's just just stay patient. I don't know. Any other topics other than stocks maybe right now? I mean, do you want to cover anything else? I would love to kind of hear your thought. I don't know if you looked at the Elon ruling, but like for now, his compensation package of $55 billion getting rejected. What do you think about this? But I mean, I don't know if you have anything else. I mean, I know there's a bit more of a talk, but that would be interesting.
So I actually don't know a lot about the ruling, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that. There's one topic I want to bring up, and I'm just going to read a few headlines that popped up on my phone yesterday, and it's kind of weird to me that they all popped up within just a very short time frame. So I'm going to read you 5 headlines, and you will see the narrative or the thing that they kind of have in common. So DEA seizes 150 million largely in Bitcoin in drug case
Man, I saw that. That's just bonkers. Yeah.
tied to Ohio. German police seizes 2.1 billion Bitcoin from former file sharers. US seizes crypto linked to Southeast Asian investment scam. UK passes bill to enable authorities to seize Bitcoins used for crime. Venezuela authorities seize Bitcoin mining machines from notorious prison. I'm not sure about the last headline. It's a bit a weird one, but you kind of see the pattern. Also, that the US wants to dump their Silk Road Bitcoin. Like, there's a lot of, let's say, government seizing, dumping, getting involved, passing legislation. This is definitely something that popped up for me over the course of maybe, let's say, the last week or so. Yeah, that's the only other topic maybe that I wanted to throw in there.
Man, absolutely bonkers. I agree. It's just nuts, yeah. And then obviously the question is going to be, how aggressive are they going to be selling this? What are they going to do with it? What are they going to be doing with this? I don't know. Yeah.
For me, it's crazy. Like, of course, a lot of Bitcoiners and a lot of crypto people, they actually criticize the government for not holding on to the Bitcoin, and basically, I think if the government would have hold on to all the Bitcoin that they sold to Tim Draper in, I don't even know when it was, 15, 16, something like that, they would have made a lot of money. It's not gonna cover for the whole deficit, but it's definitely also, I think in Europe we have a lot of, let's say, anti-Bitcoin, anti-crypto legislation in form of ESG. It's definitely not a nice outlook or environment here in Europe currently. With a lot of things, like if we have protests all over with Belgium, France, Germany, everywhere the farmers are basically protesting against all of these EU, let's say, legislation and regulation. It's a weird environment, to say the least. But that's the only other thing that would be on my radar. But I'm very much interested in. I read about the Elon Musk thing, but I don't know how something like that can be rejected and why.
No, dude, the story is like, you must love this story. Like, this is like such a conspiracy story. You would love it. So to kind of make a relatively lengthy story relatively short and compact, and I'm gonna just leave out a few things because these are not so relevant. Elon, I don't know exactly when ago, but I think it's like 6-7 years ago now. Instead of drawing a salary, I think he's just drawing $1 or something, or some symbolic salary, said he wants to be compensated with a super interesting ESOP package. And I think it's 12 tranches that were tied to operational success, financial success, and market cap and so on. So it was clearly tied to performance, clearly tied to things to kind of achieve. And he achieved, I think, all of those steps. And I think it would be worth $55 billion. Now, there was not so much anything disruptive about this, until a shareholder came in and sued him for that package, because he said it's unfair because not all the details were kind of known, probabilities were not known, and the dilution would be like massive. Now, take a guess. How many shares or how many percent of Tesla, or how significant of a shareholder is this person? Just to kind of take a guess. So you kind of see what, like, seriously, what Elon has to deal with. It's just insane. But like, take a guess.
So I would say definitely less than 1% in US dollar amounts. I don't know, maybe
7 or 9 shares. I can't remember. It was 7 or 9. It's like a meaningless amount, like completely meaningless, right? So this a-hole goes and sues, and now it gets even better. The lawyer who kind of works with him, with that person on that, does this for free and says he wants to have something on kind of on the back end, which is legal in the US. It's not legal in many other jurisdictions, but in the US, lawyers are allowed to do this, where the lawyers are allowed to kind of go together with the client, and in other jurisdictions, it's actually not allowed. In the US, it's allowed. It just kind of shows a bit also how, I don't know, sometimes how corrupt the system can be. Now, that's where now the conspiracy theory comes in, right? The conspiracy theory is that this is just the Democrats trying to screw with Elon, and yeah, they kind of sneaked in there and just kind of use a puppet to kind of derail all of that. And so Elon was kind of a bit furious, understandably, and says he's moving the headquarters, not the headquarters, he's moving the company from Delaware to Texas. And obviously then rumors came up, is Elon quitting now? Because obviously there's also this future compensation package where he said he wants to get to at least, I can't remember what that number was, 25% holding on the company. And right now he's at 12% or something. With the ESOPs, I think he would get to another like 15, 16, 17%. And so he can still appeal, and people are actually saying it's very likely that if he, like with that appeal, it's going to go through, because the arguments are very difficult to kind of make, right? Because what is the downside for the shareholders? I mean, the shareholders made shitloads of money because there were financial things, market cap things tied to that. The price of the share had to go up for him to actually get those packages. So I don't know. I felt I don't know. I was like, sometimes I look at my problems and then I look at him and I'm like, dude, like I would never want to be in his shoes, but how does he do it? Like, how does he do it? How does he wake up and deal with all of that, right? Does he have such a selective perception? That's it. I don't want to do what he does. I don't want to be him. Never ever. I would not be able to. It's just, I sit there and I'm like, man, I look at all my problems and then I see all his and I'm just like,
it's madness. It's madness. But a funny side note, maybe not on Elon, but like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I've actually spent some time in the US. And if I talked about or heard about Texas, I always, had in mind some gun-owning hillbillies and, just rule Texas. And it wasn't really, and now it kind of establishes itself as the land of the free. Like I really think they do a lot of things right, and they seem to attract a lot of capital, a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of attention. Which it's kind of crazy what is going down in the US. I guess it's not only the US, but they definitely distinguish themselves a bit different than a lot of other states in the US. But I'm following the Tesla crisis quite closely. I kind of missed an opportunity there. I took some profits in 2022 or 2023.
You want to get your entry again?
I would love to. I thought I'm going to buy slightly above 100 or slightly below 100. I don't know where I put my orders, and it never actually came to fruition. So I'm still sidelined a bit on Tesla, and I actually would love to get in.
So absolute insanity, not only in crypto, also in the offline world. Cool. Fabio, any other points? We discussed, I think, all the relevant things. Any kind of final thing that we need to mention or share? Otherwise, I would love to kind of keep it to the point here.
I think other than we might be able to talk a little bit about what's coming next on the bake side, not this Twitter space, but maybe in a week or two. I know for a fact that we have some exciting things planned, but it's maybe slightly too early to start talking about it. And then maybe one more mention for later this year. So the community event that we organized in Munich on the DeFi chain side, it was perceived very positively. We sold out, and a lot of people that participated, they gave us the feedback that they would love to see another one. So we are looking into that. Maybe I don't know, no promises here. We are still looking if we can make that a reality. But maybe in June, maybe in July ish could be a potential date for to make that happen. We're definitely going to keep you guys posted. Yeah, that would be the only thing that I've added.
Yep. And I'll also try to be there. So that would definitely be a lot of fun. Great. Then with that, I wish everyone a beautiful rest of January, a nice start into February. I hope you enjoy everything that's going on. I definitely do. Working hard and yeah, delivering for you guys. So Fabio, I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, and see you at our next streams. Appreciate it.